controllers here on the ground that track the location of every single item aboard the International Space Station so that when a crew needs something, they know exactly where to tell them to look. Again, if you're just joining us, we had Crew 12 dock aboard their SpaceX Dragon spacecraft to the zenith or space-facing port on the International Space Station at 2:15 p.m. Central Time today, following an approximately 34-hour rendezvous after their launch yesterday morning at 4:15 a.m. Central Time. We are in the process of pressurizing the vestibule, that space between the Dragon and space station hatch. That was previously exposed to vacuum, so we have to introduce air from the space station side to make sure that the pressure equals out with both of these spacecraft. This process can take up to 2 hours. NASA astronaut Chris Williams is working this on the space station side. And we're standing by as they continue this process. We're expecting hatch opening at approximately 4 p.m. Central Time. We are in another satellite handover from the tracking data and relay satellite systems, and we expect to regain that communication shortly. This is Mission Control Houston and all of the flight controllers monitoring the mission today. The International Space Station and Dragon are currently flying approximately 259 statute miles over the North Pacific Ocean, west off the coast of California. They are in an orbital daytime, and you can see the International Space Station with your naked eye if you just know when to look. So if you look up Spot the Station on nasa.gov, you can type in your location and receive updates whenever the International Space Station will be visible to you at dawn or dusk.
SpaceX Dragon for suit drawing.
Go ahead for suit drawing.
Just so you know, we started an hour clock timer about 5 minutes ago.
All right, SpaceX copies on the big loop. Suit drive start time, I see that at about 21:08 UTC.
Station Houston on space to ground 2. Chris on the big loop for the hatch open.
Station's with you on space ground 2.
Hey Chris, whenever you're ready, we are ready now for you to execute procedure 2.102. That's Crew Dragon arrival, part 2, step 3, go. We expect equalization to take 4 minutes.
Copy, executing part 2 and go, and copy 4 minutes.
That call from Capcom, our capsule communicator Brandon Lesarge here in Mission Control Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, to NASA astronaut Chris Williams living and working aboard the International Space Station. Williams is prime for the hatch operation procedures today, and Lesarge calling up that the vestibule leak check is complete.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground. Can you confirm which suit you had the observation on the glove on?
Seat 4.
Copy.
And that call from the Corps in Hawthorne, the crew operations resource engineer, to the crew aboard Dragon, asking about a glove that the crew called down about earlier during suit leak checks.
Houston on the big loop. Wanted to pass you some big picture words on status. The vestibule leak check inside a station was good. The Node 2 Zenith hatch is open, and Chris is currently working on the rest of the procedure to open the APAS hatch.
Second copy. Chris is working on the APAS hatch. SpaceX Dragon on the loop.
SpaceX on the big loop.
I'm looking at 4.400 as we're also finishing 4.012. I'm wondering if we can defer some of the actions due to time and the CAO event, what recommendation you have, like for example, the consolidation of all the water and food trash into large item bags. Would you recommend skipping any of those steps for now?
SpaceX copies. At this time, we do recommend trying to complete all actions in 4.400, which we may be able to accomplish before we're able to step into hatch opening. So I would like to prioritize trying to accomplish sections 2 and 3 if possible.
Okay, we'll do that.
A lot of communications going to and from the International Space Station, as well as to and from Dragon. The crew inside Dragon are working through procedures to stow everything and begin that egress or exit from their capsule and ingress or enter the International Space Station, which will be their new home for the next several months. We did hear that we have a good vestibule pressure leak check. So we continue to step through these procedures smoothly before we open up the hatches. We are in a satellite handover with the Tracking Data Relay Satellite Systems. This is Mission Control Houston at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, where all the team members continue to monitor the arrival of Dragon and now these hatch opening operations. And if you're just joining us, it's been a little over an hour now since Crew 12 docked to the International Space Station. Again, that docking.
Dragon with a question.
SpaceX is up on the big loop.
I'm just wondering, for that trash consolidation, is there another set of utensils in the downhill stuff? Are those utensils considered trash?
Nice, SpaceX copies. There should be another set, but stand by one while I just confirm for you before I give you an affirmative.
Okay, we copy.
Now a view from both sides of the spacecraft that we are monitoring today. On the left, you have Dragon docked to the zenith or space-facing port of Node 2 on the International Space Station. On the right, you can see into that Node 2 hatch. Chris Williams, NASA astronaut on his first mission, has been pressurizing the vestibule, that space between the Dragon and space station hatch. We recently received word that they had a good leak check and that pressure is equal to the International Space Station. The crew aboard Dragon is working through some of their procedures, like configuring the cabin and collecting trash before they begin their journey into the International Space Station. That's timelined to happen at about 4 p.m. Central Time.
SpaceX Dragon, ready for the inventory.
SpaceX is ready to copy inventory, and I am still looking to confirm for the original question, which I will follow up on for utensils. But at this time, ready for inventory.
Sure. So for the inventory, water, bag number 2010, bag number 202, 0, bag number 203, 0, and bag number 204, 1.
Copy for 201 through 203, all 0, and 204 is 1.
Yes, that's correct. And for food, bag number 301, 302, 301, 302, 0.
SpaceX copies. 301, 302 are both 0 for food.
Affirm, and for food again, 304, 303, 1.
Copy 1 for 304 and 303.
That's good words. And for waste, 17 uses of urine collection.
SpaceX copies 17 for the waste system. For the water, does this include, we will be using 1 water bottle in section 3 of 4.400. So want to confirm if your previous inventory accounts for that, or if you will use that bottle that's remaining in 204 for the waste system flush.
That's a very good point. We will use the remaining of 204, and so all of the 4 bags, 201 through 204, will be remaining 0 after the procedure.
All right, core copies. We'll have 0 remaining for bags 201 through 204. And I can confirm that we do have additional utensils for the downhill in bags 306 and 308. So again, for utensils, we have utensils for the downhill, so you should be able to dispose of utensils from the uphill.
Copy.
Those voices were ESA astronaut Sophie Adeno and the SpaceX core in Hawthorne, California. Adeno was reporting all of the inventory that they used aboard Dragon during their 34-orbit rendezvous to the International Space Station. As previously mentioned, everything aboard the space station is meticulously tracked, and the same is true for Dragon. This view in the center of your screen is NASA astronaut Chris Williams working through the hatch opening process. First up on the list was vestibule pressurization, introducing air from the space station side into that small space between both the SpaceX Dragon and International Space Station hatch. That has been confirmed complete after good leak checks. Again, we had docking today at 2:15 p.m. Central, and we are expecting hatch opening at about 4 p.m. Central.
Dragon, this is Houston on the Big Loop. Wanted to let you know to stand by for hardline audio config. What this means is there will be about 2 to 3 minutes of audio outage while we make the configuration swap. Do you have any questions?
Dragon copies are standing by.
As you heard that call to the crew from Houston Mission Control to the crew aboard Dragon, we have been using the C2V2 Common Communications for Visiting Vehicles link. It's an audio loop. Also, we call it the Big Loop, that allows us to talk to all of the crew members in space aboard the orbiting International Space Station, as well as aboard the SpaceX Dragon, with Mission Control Houston and Mission Control in Hawthorne, all on the same loop. Once Dragon arrives to the space station, we reconfigure that loop so that we all have individual again.
Copy that, Chris. At the moment, we want to recommend just hanging tight for a little bit longer. Otherwise, it might take some force by using your feet on the side and that sort of thing. But recommend stand by another few minutes.
Copy all. I'll stand by another few minutes, and then I can really give it some force.
Copy. And naturally, our inclination is to want to check to make sure that the APAS or the valve there is still open too.
Affirm. Valve is open, and the rollers are retracted.
We copy. Thank you.
Communications between Jacob Lesarge, the Capcom here, Mission Control Houston, and NASA astronaut Chris Williams, you see on your screen, on the International Space Station. With the vestibule pressurized, we are letting that level out before he attempts to open the APAS hatch. That helps make it a little bit easier to open that hatch. Requires a little less effort once that has leveled out with the pressure aboard the space station.
Dragon, Houston on the Big Loop. Com check. Hardline audio reconfig is complete.
We've got you loud and clear on hardline.
We have you same. Sounds good.
NASA astronaut Chris Williams has opened the APAS hatch. That exposes the vestibule that he was previously pressurizing, and through that vestibule is the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft with the awaiting 4 Crew 12 crew members.
Is with you on the Big Loop.
Again, they're docking coming at 2:15 p.m. Central today.
We've got all of it out and just temp stowed right now. Is this coming into station with us now? We're just leaving at Tempstone. Is that the plan?
Negative. I believe we will have something scheduled on the crew timeline for a waste transfer later, not immediately at hatch open.
Okay, so that trash that we have in March Outerback should just kind of be Tempstone on Velcro hanging out in the capsule for now?
Affirm for now. We're not gonna transfer any waste yet.
Okay, we copy, and just an FYI, we'll have to give you a slight update for water consumption and toilet use, flush count in a few minutes after we all finish with those up.
Copy that. Yes, I was tracking that in section 3 for that updated count. And then I have a follow-up on the photos for the suit glove. One ready to copy?
Ready to copy.
All right. If it is possible and they are accessible, it is allowed to airdrop the photos from the tablet to the SpaceX iPhones, which are in Dragon. We do have an app there where we can downlink media. However, if that is hard to get to right now, I'm going to say let's not do that at the moment, and we can look at another opportunity to downlink the photos later on after we have you guys in ISS, and we can get that scheduled.
Copy, and if you want, we can even, turn on a SpaceX phone and take the pictures directly with the SpaceX phone.
Yeah, Affirm, if that's easy to do right now, let's go ahead and take those photos with the phone, and then we'll look for a future opportunity to get those downlinked to us.
Sure, that's easy to do. We'll do it right now.
All right, thank you.
Houston, station on space to ground 1. Impact hatch is open and no condensation observed.
Copy, Chris. We understand the APAS hatch is open and understand you're not seeing any condensation. Just for awareness for future calls, we're going to push you to the big loop, if that's okay.
Copy that, yep, switching to 2.
You got it.
That's NASA astronaut Chris Williams communicating with the Capcom here in Mission Control Houston, discussing the APAS hatch, and that is the hatch you see he just opened. One of the portions of their checklist is to check for any condensation on the hatch. Williams reported there was none, and so they are continuing to step through those procedures. You also heard some communications with the crew aboard Dragon and the core in Hawthorne, California. They are continuing to work through stowing the items they have been using in Dragon and preparing to open the hatch. Williams has just removed the docking target that's on the APAS hatch. This is what is used aboard Dragon spacecraft when preparing to dock to the International Space Station. Dragon SpaceX over hardline.
S-band will be deactivated shortly. Dragon to ground will no longer be available. Verified push-to-talk destinations are all set to ISS.
Dragon copies.
NASA astronaut Chris Williams stepping through the hatch opening procedures. He is installing the APAS hatch cover, having recently removed that docking target. Once this cover installation is complete, we will see Williams route some ducting through the hatch. That ducting will allow for hatch equalization and keep the atmosphere in the International Space Station side flowing through toward Dragon.
Houston, SpaceX. This is the space station on the big loop. We're complete through 4.9 of 2.102. Station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Chris, Houston on the big loop. Dragon is still working on hatch equalization procedures. Expect another maybe 10 minutes until we're ready for equalization.
Station copies all. We're standing by.
As you can see, NASA astronaut Chris Williams has completed installing the ducts previously mentioned. These are intermodule ventilation ducts and help to perform that hatch equalization that was discussed. We expect that to start in about 10 minutes as the Dragon crew continues configuring their cabin. An hour and a half now since Crew 12 docked to the International Space Station at 2:15 p.m. Central Time. We are timelined to see hatch opening in around 4 p.m. Central. The International Space Station and Dragon are currently flying about 267 statute miles over the South Atlantic Ocean and just entering an orbital nighttime. This is Mission Control Houston. A view on your screen now of Sergei Mikhaev aboard the International Space Station, one of the two Sergeys living on the space station, joined by NASA astronaut Chris Williams. Williams has been working to configure hatch operations as we prepare to welcome Crew 12 aboard the orbiting laboratory. The crew aboard Dragon is still working through their checklist to ensure they're ready to enter the International Space Station, which will be their home for the next several months. This is Mission Control Houston, continuing to monitor the arrival of Crew 12 to the International Space Station, which will increase the number of people living and working on the orbiting laboratory from 3 to 7. That docking occurred today at 2:15 p.m. Central Time, following an on-time launch yesterday morning at 4:15 a.m. Central Time. That's an approximately 34-hour rendezvous where Dragon was making its way to the International Space Station. Everything moving very smoothly for that on-time docking today. The crew aboard Dragon is continuing to step through their procedures as the International Space Station side is ready to begin opening the hatches once that's complete. We'll also hear a few words from the crew members during a welcoming ceremony shortly after they've arrived on board, so we hope you will stay tuned. We are currently in a satellite handover here in Mission Control Houston. We use the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system to communicate with the International Space Station. We continuously monitor when these handovers will take place, and we look forward to regaining communications with the space station shortly.
SpaceX Dragon for inventory.
SpaceX is ready to copy updated inventory.
We've got the waste system rinse running right now, so that'll be an additional 3 flushes, and there's no water remaining from locations 11 and 12.
All right, SpaceX copies. Additional 3, so that puts what I count up to 20 uses for the system, and that puts us down to 0 remaining in bag 204. So zeros across the board for the waters.
Affirm.
And Dragon SpaceX for additional follow-up. Looking to get in sync with where you are at 4.400. Are we complete through section 2 with section 3 now in progress for the waste system flush, or are we complete up until the waste system flush, which is in progress now?
We are complete all the way through 3.2. 3.2 is in process right now.
All right, SpaceX copies. For awareness, when you do step into section 4, so when you've completed all remaining actions in section 3, we have already gotten the call in 4.1. So we'll just be looking for your readiness for hatch equalization when you get into section 4. How copy?
Okay, we copy. Looking for our call in section 4.
All right, SpaceX copies. Thank you. Yeah, that's the contact SpaceX instruction in 4.1.
Okay, we copy. We have the go in 4.1, and we still have the suit drying timer going as well, but I assume that we can continue into step 4, 4.400, even though we haven't closed out 4.012.
Affirm. We'll go ahead and start stepping through section 4 while the suits continue to dry.
Dragon copy.
A lot of communication between the core in Hawthorne, California at SpaceX headquarters and SpaceX Mission Control with the crew aboard Dragon as they prepare to open the hatch and join the crew aboard the International Space Station. Just confirmed that they have doffed their suits and are drying those. They've had an opportunity to change before they enter the space station. In this view, you see Sergei Mikhaev and Sergei Kutsverchkov, both of Roscosmos, and at the bottom of the screen, NASA's Chris Williams, who has been prime for bringing the Crew 12 crew into the International Space Station today. These 3 have been living and working aboard the space station since their launch on Soyuz MS-28 last year, and they have been the only 3 on the station since Crew 11's departure last month. The time zone used aboard the International Space Station is GMT, and it is just past the 10 o'clock hour at this time.
SpaceX Dragon.
SpaceX is ready to copy.
With you in 4.1.
All right, SpaceX copies. The ISS crew has reported that they are ready for Dragon hatch equalization. Can you confirm that Dragon is ready for hatch equalization?
Affirm, we are ready.
SpaceX copies. We are taking that action now.
Station and Dragon, stand by for equalization. It is expected to take 4 minutes.
We heard those communications from the Corps in Hawthorne to the crew aboard Dragon, that is Crew 12. Confirmation that they are ready to begin hatch opening operations. Again, this view of Roscosmos cosmonaut Sergei Kudzverchkov on the left, NASA's Chris Williams in the middle, and Sergei Mikhaev on the right. That's the current crew of Expedition 74 that are being joined by Crew 12 and bring the total of people living and working on the space station up to 7. As you can see, it appears that they are looking up. That's the direction toward the Node 2 zenith, or space-facing port. Node 2 zenith is where Crew 12 docked today, that coming almost 2 hours ago, 2:15 p.m. Central Time.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop.
Go ahead.
I'm looking for your go that I can remove the current video director override phase that's had been set to exterior only, if I can bring it back in on board.
Affirm, you've got our go.
As you can see, these three are pretty clearly excited to document their new crew members joining them. Already getting some waves through that docking hatch window before the hatch is actually opened.
Dragon SpaceX, we are back on board with cameras.
Hello.
Currently, the teams are allowing some time for the pressure in the Dragon cabin to equal out with the pressure that's currently in the vestibule. Once those are equaled out, we will see them open that hatch and join Expedition 74. And on the left side of your screen, the inside of the Dragon spacecraft, where Crew 12 is preparing to exit and join the other Expedition 74 crew members on the space station side. As you can see, they've had time to get out of their suits and start to dry those out. This is what they do after having worn them on the ride uphill. They've also been working inside the cabin to make sure everything is properly stowed for their long-duration mission on the space station. the view from inside Dragon now showing you the view from the pilot and commander seats. Of course, they are no longer in those spacesuits, but you can see Sophie Adno and Andrei Fedyaev down towards the lower portion of Dragon. And another view of those screens. Those are the screens that the crew uses to monitor during the flight to the space station.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop for hatch open. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in procedure 4.400. After 4.400 is complete, transition to NASA procedure 2.102.
Okay, we copy that. We're go for 4.4. We'll finish out step 4 and go into 2.102. And can you confirm we should complete all those steps? Is that going to be before the PAO event, or will we do the PAO event and come back to do that?
SpaceX copies. Good question. We're going to complete the 2.102 steps prior to the PAO.
Copy.
And on the left side of your screen, you see the crew members beginning to open the Dragon hatch. And on the right side of your screen, you see 3 excited crew members ready to welcome them. Dragon hatch is open at 4:14 p.m. Central Time.
SpaceX Dragon, the hatch is open.
SpaceX copies. We see hatch open. Welcome to ISS.
As you heard the crew discussing with the Corps in California, they are checking.
We're so excited to be here.
They will continue to step through some procedures before we get into the welcoming ceremony.
Houston, Dragon.
Dragon, Houston's with you on 2. Go ahead.
installation is complete. We're go for IMV fan activation.
Houston copies. Understand we are go for IMV fan activation.
As you heard Jessica Meir report that the duct installation is complete, we previously saw Chris Williams routing this to Dragon. This allows for IMV, or intermodule ventilation.
And Houston Dragon, we're looking for your go in 6.3.
Hey, Jessica. Houston's with you on 2. You have our go in step 6.3 for location 23.
This is Mission Control Houston. The hatch on the Dragon side of the Dragon being docked to the International Space Station was opened at 4:14 p.m. Central Time. Coming almost 2 hours after docking at 2:15 p.m. Central Time, the crew continues to step through procedures inside Dragon before floating through the hatch and into the International Space Station.
SpaceX Dragon, Lyo cartridge is sealed and installed.
All right, SpaceX copies for Lyo cartridge sealed. Good news.
Station. Houston on 1 for Chris and PAO event.
With you on 1.
Hey Chris, let us know, but we were just talking, and if you need if you guys need a few extra minutes prior to starting the PAO event from the nominally scheduled time, just let us know.
Copy, Wilco. We're all good here. We'll see how the Dragon crew is getting along, and I'll let you know.
Sounds good. Just for your awareness, it's no problem if we need to delay a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for that.
The PAO event, you hear NASA astronaut Chris Williams discussing with Jacob Lesarge, the Capcom here in Mission Control Houston, is the welcoming ceremony. So we hope that you'll all stay tuned to hear words from the Crew 12 crew members as they join Expedition 74 aboard the International Space Station. We are in a satellite handover with the tracking and data relay satellite system from the International Space Station Flight Control Room and the space station. We expect to regain those communications with the space station very shortly. As we have discussed, Crew 12 arrived at the station docking at 2:15 p.m. Central Time today. Hatch opening of Dragon occurred just moments ago at 4:14 p.m. Central Time. The Dragon crew has not yet entered the International Space Station. They are continuing some procedures inside the spacecraft as they prepare to be docked for an extended period of time and complete their mission on the space station. Once the crew floats through the hatch, they will be joining 3 members of Expedition 74. It's NASA's Chris Williams and Roscosmos' Sergei Mikhailov and Sergei Kutsverchkov. That'll bring the total crew on the International Space Station up to 7. Following their entrance of the International Space Station, we will also have an opportunity for them to provide some welcome remarks, some thoughts on their flight, and what they're excited for now that they are on the orbiting laboratory. Obviously, you can see we've regained those communications, views, and audio from the space station and from Dragon. On the left side of your screen, you can see the Dragon crew continuing to work through their procedures before they enter the space station. They are not in their suits. They took those off shortly after docking. This allows them time for the suits to dry out. They won't wear these again until they prepare to board Dragon and complete their journey on the space station by coming back to Earth. Again, this is a long-duration mission, approximately 8 months long, that they'll be living and working on the orbiting laboratory. Currently most visible in Dragon.
Configuration is complete.
SpaceX copies. That's complete through Part C of docking procedure.
And SpaceX Dragon, we will proceed into ISS and come back to finish the last step of the suit stuff. That works for you guys?
SpaceX copies. No concerns. We'll track the last step open for 4.012, and we can follow that up on that later.
Hey, firm. Thank you, guys. It was a wonderful ride.
It was our pleasure, Jessica. Have a good stay there, Crew 12.
We are standing by for Crew 12 to enter the International Space Station. First through the hatch is ESA astronaut Sophie Adeno on her first trip to space. Adno is followed by another first-time flyer, NASA astronaut Jack Hathaway. Roscosmos Andrei Fedyayev is next to join the Expedition 74 crew on the space station, and NASA astronaut Jessica Meir makes her return to the space station as well. We have lots of hugs in microgravity as the International Space Station is back up to 7 crew members.
Houston, station on 1 for the PAO event.
Station, Houston is with you on 1. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are ready to get configured for that and just knock that out if it's good for you guys. Just give us 2 seconds to get the mic up and we'll do a quick voice chat.
Houston copies. We'll plan for an on-time start. I'll make a call in about 60 seconds if you're good with that. And
works for us.
Cool. Just for your awareness, I'll be coming up on Space Ground 2.
There's Crew 12. Now all 4 members of Expedition 74 aboard the International Space Station.
Expedition 74, this is Houston. Would you please give us a voice check? Currently, we're not hearing anything through the mic.
Check 1, 1, 1.
Okay, Houston copies. That's a good voice check. Standby 1. Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station on 1, and we're ready to say welcome to Crew 12 today, and we are happy they all arrived safe and sound. And we've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. So we're really happy and proud to work as a team here. So let me pass the mic to Jessica.
Thank you so much. It is so wonderful to be back up here for me and Andre, but really we're so excited for Jack and for Sophie for their first trip here to the International Space Station. I think you look around the crew up here and it's really a testament to everything that we do. We have so many countries represented, so many backgrounds, so many disciplines, and we are so excited to be here and to get to work with Expedition 74. Sending big hugs and love to Svea and all my family and friends. We did it. We're here. We love you. Over to Jack.
Thanks, Jessica. I don't even know how to describe what it's like to be up here. You just float in, and it's just such a cool experience. It's been a great trip with my great Crew 12 friends. I'm so excited to join Expedition 74, see my classmate again. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to pass over to Sophie.
Thank you, Jack. Yeah, well, I would say that was quite a ride, but very fun. It was also great to have the help of Jessica and Andre, two experienced. They are very generous in sharing all of the advice for us, so very grateful for them. The first time we looked at the Earth was, wow, mind-blowing. The Earth is so beautiful from up there. And literally, we see no lines, no borders. And it was, yeah, a very big moment for us, Jack and me, to see that for the first time. So we're happy to share it with you in the future events. Over to Andre.
Я скажу по-русски. Всем большой-большой привет. Очень рад, на самом деле, быть здесь опять, чувствовать этот ни с чем не запах, запах МКС, который ни с чем невозможно перепутать. Большое спасибо команде SpaceX. Большое спасибо всем тем, кто провожал наш экипаж в Хьюстоне, потом в центре Кеннеди. Отдельное спасибо всем тем, кто занимался моей семьей и именно провожал меня. Family support, Kelly, thank you so much. I know this very hard job for you, but you do it very well and excellent. So thank you so much for my mom, for my wife, for my kids. Сергей Прокопьев, тебе тоже большое, огромное спасибо отдельное за мою маму, да, за то, что ты с ней очень много времени провел. Большое спасибо, искренне тебе. И также ребята, кто меня провожал, тоже вам большой привет. Саша, Татьяна, увидимся через какое-то время. Ну, а команда, та большая команда, которая занимается работает с Международной космической станцией, все те люди, которые обеспечивают ее работу, помогают нам выполнять здесь различные задачи. Вам большой привет. Ну, будем работать. У нас впереди целых 2 экспедиции получается. Who is next?
You have some words?
Thank you to all the teams all around the world. We are so excited to be here. And let's get rolling with Expedition 74.
Thank you to all participants in Expedition 74. We are now resuming operational audio communications.
Enjoy it. Not too fast. Don't rush.
Just see if I still had it.
Yeah,
Not
that's
bad
good.
for my first go back.
You know, I had.
Seven smiling faces aboard the International Space Station now that we have all of our crew members aboard. Again, some really happy words from our newest members, that is Crew 12, that arrived at the space station at 2:15 p.m. Central Time. Hatches between Dragon and the space station opening at 4:14 p.m. Central Time. Thank you for joining us today for Crew 12's arrival to the space station. After launching at 5:15 a.m. Eastern yesterday morning, Friday the 13th, the space station got a sweet Valentine today with their docking at 2:15 p.m. Central. This crew will work on integrating into daily life aboard the orbiting lab, which has additional operations coming up. Those include the departure of SpaceX's 33rd commercial resupply mission, followed by departure of JAXA's HTV-X as well. Later this spring, we'll see a couple of spacewalks, so check nasa.gov for the latest updates. Of course, we're also gearing up for the Artemis II launch to send humans around the moon, with March as the earliest potential launch window. It's obviously an exciting time for NASA. We really hope you follow along. Happy Valentine's Day, and this is Mission Control Houston.
Administrator Jared Isaacman, Michael Lopez Alegria, as well as Peggy Whitson. We are approaching 2 minutes until the approach initiation burn this morning.
And on the bottom of your screen, you can now see some graphics there. On your left-hand side should show the thrusters on Dragon, and that approach initiation burn is coming up. So you might be able to actually see it there live on your screen, but you can also follow along with the thrusters on that graphic to show which thrusters are actually firing at any moment.
Standing by for approach initiation burn, now 1 minute out.
And also on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can also see the range. This is about how far Dragon is from the International Space Station, as well as the rate of approach in meters per second there. So you can see how fast Dragon is moving. And it's going to look very slow and slight on your screen just because of the perspective of the International Space Station to Dragon, but both vehicles are going about 17,500 miles per hour right now around Earth, which is pretty fast.
It's so fast, in fact, that the International Space Station orbits the Earth 16 times a day, every 90 minutes.
Yeah, if you like sunsets and sunrises, you get a lot of those.
We are standing by for AI start.
It is a little bright on your screen. Dragon is still there. We're looking at Dragon from the International Space Station's view. It's a little in the top part of your screen where it's a little bright, so hard to see Dragon, but it is there. And there, now you can see those burns on the bottom left-hand of your screen on the graphic there. Does mean that the approach initiation burn has begun. There you can see Dragon in the middle of your screen, just a little bit better.
As well as some great views of Earth. The International Space Station and Dragon are currently flying over the South Atlantic.
And that graphic is a really cool view because you can see how all these different thrusters are working together. It's not just one thruster or two thrusters firing at all times. It's a few little bursts here and there to help align Dragon to where it needs to go as it's approaching the International Space Station and getting ready to approach and then align with the docking adapter eventually.
That's right. This burn will help swing Dragon up until about 400 meters above the International Space Station. Freedom is going to be docking to the Zenith port of Harmony this morning.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Approach initiation maneuver complete. Nominal.
Copies, nominal AI.
And again, as Sandra mentioned, the Dragon spacecraft is swinging itself up and over the International Space Station. It's going to be a very slow approach, but you can see the difference in the view that we have of Dragon. You're starting to see Earth in the background, but eventually Dragon will end up above the International Space Station.
So we did have confirmation that the AI burn wrapped up and completed as expected. So good news, that's another milestone as we approach docking targeted for 12:12 p.m. Pacific time. On board, the destination for Dragon Freedom is, of course, the International Space Station, and they're
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground for suit leak checks.
SpaceX Dragon, go.
You are go to execute section 1 of 4.011. When you complete section 1, you can proceed into section 2, but then we're going to hold. We're still about 5 minutes from being able to do the suit leak checks while we are still looking at the rest of the vehicle and making sure that we're good for approach.
Dragon copy, we got to go for section 1, and we'll hold in section 2 while you guys finish up for about 5 minutes.
And that was communications with the core here in Hawthorne up to Crew Dragon Freedom, namely to the pilot, NASA astronaut Jack Hathaway, as they continue to gear up for suit leak checks. In about 5 minutes from now, the crew is currently seated and suited up in their spacesuits. They will remain suited up all the way through this approach phase, as well as through docking, as well to the International Space Station. And on board the International Space Station, there are currently 3 astronauts and cosmonauts. As part of Expedition 74, they are living and working and conducting groundbreaking science and research. Now, last month we did have the return of Crew 11 back to Earth. But following Crew 12's arrival, the space station will have a total of 7 crew members on board and what we consider a standard crew complement.
And Crew 12 has been working in indirect handover with the Crew 11 crew on the ground and getting up to speed as much as possible ahead of their arrival to the space station.
This includes training on emergency procedures and the ins and outs of space station, but once they actually arrive on board, they will go through a more direct handover and training with NASA astronaut Chris Williams, who has been on the space station since November. These handovers between crews allow for continuity of the activities and helps to ensure a continuous U.S. presence on the space station, which we recently celebrated a major milestone of 25 years of continuous presence aboard the International Space Station. So what that means is if you are younger than 25 years old, you have never known a moment in your life where there have not been humans living off the planet, which is an incredible feat. Continuing to get some good views of Dragon Freedom as it makes its approach to the space station. The next burn that we are looking ahead towards is the mid-course burn, which will be at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And this mid-course burn is more of a fine-tuning burn to ensure that the trajectory of Dragon is right on line ahead of docking. Again, we are targeting docking at 12:12 p.m. Pacific time for Crew 12.
Dragon SpaceX for 4.011.
SpaceX Dragon, go.
Ground is ready for suit leak checks, so you are go to start with step 2.1. Waiting for your call in 2.2, and then we'll give you a go.
Dragon copies, we'll give you 2.1 and give you a call or 2.2.
Again, those were just some comms between the core and the Crew 12 crew. They are working through some very specific procedures that they're...
SpaceX Dragon, we're ready to pressurize in 2.2.
SpaceX copies. You are go for commanding in 2.3. Initiate suit leak check.
Dragon is initiating suit leak check.
Again, the crew is working through some procedures, and as you just heard, they are working through a suit leak check. This is just to make sure that they've got all their suits on, and they're just going to make sure that they have a good suit leak check in preparation for when they close their visors during the approach portion to the International Space Station. We are continuing to get some pretty cool views from the International Space Station looking at Dragon. That is Dragon Freedom with the Crew 12 crew still on board.
And as Dragon approaches, we will get a clearer and sharper image of Dragon Freedom, but you are starting to be able to make out the nose cone, which is open and has remained open since shortly after launch. And this helps to expose all the guidance.
Dragon SpaceX, looks like we're low on suit 3. Can we go ahead and halt the suit leak check and we'll try again?
It looks like we are in a brief period of handover between our satellites, and we'll regain views and communication with the crew here shortly. They are continuing to step through those procedures and leak checks, which again, they remain suited and seated all the way through the docking portion. And then once they dock to the International Space Station, they will be able to get out of their spacesuits and work through hatch opening procedures. NASA astronaut Chris Williams is going to be primed for hatch opening procedures on the space station side. And then following that, the crew will be able to float on board the International Space Station for...
Dragon SpaceX, for awareness, we're about to come up on a TDRS handover on Dragon to ground. This next TDRS pass will start at about 1849, that's 1849. At this time, I'll have crew execute step 2.8 to investigate suit 3, and we'll follow up for the next suit leak check at 1849.
All right, Dragon Copy, you want us to execute the troubleshoot steps now, and we'll do another leak check after the TDRS pass at 1849.
Good, read back, talk to you then.
And those were just some comms. They are currently doing or performing suit leak checks. They did have a call that there was a low pressure on suit 3, and they are currently troubleshooting that. And in about 5 minutes or so, we should hear they should be trying that suit leak check again, and we should be hearing those comms again for that procedure.
That's right. And while we wait for our next milestone, let's take a moment to meet our crew. In the commander's seat is NASA astronaut Jessica Meir, who spent a total of 205 days in space on her first space flight back in 2019 and was part of the first all-female spacewalks. She holds a biology degree from Brown University. Next to Meir is pilot Jack Hathaway, who's making his first flight to space. The Connecticut native earned bachelor's degrees in physics and history from the U.S. Naval Academy, and he has more than 2,500 flight hours in 30 types of aircraft and has flown 39 combat missions during several military operations.
Serving as a mission specialist is Sophie Adenau, representing the European Space Agency, or ESA. The French native studied engineering and specialized in spacecraft and aircraft flight dynamics during undergraduate work in France and received her master's degree from MIT. This will also be her first trip to space. Rounding out this crew is Roscosmos cosmonaut and mission specialist Andrei Fedyaev. As a major in the Russian Air Force, he's logged more than 500 hours in Russian aircraft. Back in 2023, he launched as a mission specialist as part of Crew 6, where he spent nearly 186 days aboard the International Space Station.
And that's a look at the crew that is currently aboard Crew Dragon Freedom as they look ahead towards docking at 12 p.m. Pacific time this afternoon. The crew did launch on Friday the 13th, just yesterday, and they did launch at 5:15 a.m. Eastern, 2:15 here in Pacific time. It was a beautiful launch from Space Launch Complex 40 in Florida.
Yeah, and the crew, again, as we were just mentioning, they were performing suit leak checks. They're still currently in that procedure. Again, they had a low pressurization in suit leak in suit 3, so they are troubleshooting that as we speak. And at the 10:49 minute mark, they're going to try that suit leak check one more time. And again, they do this to make sure that the suits are good and ready to go, that they don't have leaks while they're docking to the International Space Station. So we should see that coming up in about a couple minutes, and we're going to check in with our partner over there at NASA's Johnny Space Center, Leah Cheshire. How's it going, Leah?
Hi, good morning, or good afternoon actually, here in Johnson Space Center. We're at the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, where everyone here is gearing up for this afternoon's docking and looking forward to having Crew 12 aboard the station soon. So Dragon's approach will be monitored both here on the ground and from the space station's cupola using special software to track the spacecraft's approach and making sure it stays in the expected zones. Now, once Dragon is docked, NASA astronaut Chris Williams will be primed to start hatch opening operations. He's going to start by opening the large hatch on Node 2 Zenith, which is where the spacecraft's docking today, and that'll give him access into the pressurized mating adapter. The crew will also pressurize the vestibule, and that's the small space between the hatch on Dragon and the space station. This area, of course, was previously exposed to vacuum prior to docking, so the crew will need to fill it with air and make sure its pressure is nearly equal with the atmospheric pressure on Dragon and on the station side. Williams will use a small valve on the station's hatch to slowly introduce air into that vestibule, while flight controllers here in Houston will monitor and verify the pressure readings to make sure that everything is leak-free before we get ready to open up the hatches. Today on console in Mission Control Houston, we have NASA Flight Director Brandon Lloyd and the Orbit 2 team on console. For Dragon's approach and docking, to the right of Lloyd is our Capcom, that's the capsule communicator, Jacob Lesarge. He is not speaking with the crew on Dragon, but is instead talking with the crew aboard the station. We currently have 3 crew members living and working on the orbiting laboratory, and of course that's going to jump to 7 once the Crew 12 crew members arrive. Again, we're really excited to get those crew members aboard soon, and for now, that's the latest from here in Mission Control Houston. So I'll send it back over to Sandra and Jesse in Hawthorne.
Thanks, Leah. It's great to hear that everything is proceeding as expected over in Mission Control. We are looking ahead towards that AI mid-course burn 11 minutes from now at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. Pacific.
And again, we are just waiting for confirmation of that second suit leak check that the crew will be performing. Should be any minute now that we should start hearing comms about that. And coming up, once Dragon arrives at 400 meters.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground for suit leak checks.
Dragon, listen.
All right, just want to confirm if you were able to step through all substeps of 2.8 for the suit openings and verified closed, and if you reported anything found.
We stepped through everything. It looked like my right glove may have had been only half a white tooth, but that's the only abnormality we found on all the zippers.
Okay, copy that. Looking at that zipper, just for my awareness, did we look at the umbilical at all, or the O-rings?
Yeah, we did. We looked at the umbilical, the O-rings looked good, all those connections looked good, and then we looked at the suit, the visor as well, and that seal looks decent.
Okay, copy. At that point, we're more than likely going to be ready to step into the next suit leak check. Standby 1 will get ready on the ground, and I'll give you a call. If you can go ahead and return to step 2.1 and give me a go when you guys are ready to pressurize, and we'll be giving you that go shortly.
Got it.
And then we heard the comms that they have been checking anything with the suit where there is a seal on the suit. So they sound.
SpaceX Dragon, we're ready to pressurize for suit leak check in 2.2.
All right, SpaceX copies on Dragon to ground. You are go for commanding. Initiate suit leak check.
Dragon.
And they are reperforming that suit leak check on pilot Jack Hathaway's suit. They did check the umbilicals, the O-rings, which are seals that help keep everything nice and tight and prevents leaks. Sounds like everything has checked out well so far. Potentially the glove zipper may have just not been closed all the way. So they're reperforming that suit leak check to see if we can get a good pressurization on Jack Hathaway's suit.
And coming up here shortly, once Dragon arrives at 400 meters below space station, it will be at what is known as waypoint 0, and that will be the first checkpoint during our approach. The spacecraft can hold here at 400 meters, but if all of its systems check out, Dragon can continue its approach to waypoint 1. Dragon's move from waypoint 0 to waypoint 1 will swing it up and over top of the space station, arriving at a distance of approximately 220 meters. At this point, it will be on what we call the docking axis, which is essentially directly in front of the docking port. The crew are headed to the zenith port on space station, which is the port that is facing space. Dragon has docked to Node 2, also known as Harmony, for all of our crewed missions so far, because that's where both international docking adapters are located.
And we did get confirmation that we did get a good suit leak check on Jack Hathaway's suit, so great news. Once Dragon is only 20 meters at waypoint 2, the spacecraft focuses on aligning its docking system with the International Docking Adapter. We may hear the call out CHOP, which stands for Crew Hands Off Point, a little less than 30 seconds before docking, and at this point, any aborts will have to be done automatically by Dragon.
And then the moment we've all been waiting for, the grand arrival, when our crew arrives at the International Space Station. Dragon will fly in and make contact with that IDA, giving us what we call soft capture. The soft capture ring then retracts until sensors indicate it's time for 12 hooks to drive in place to give us a hard capture and firmly secure Dragon to its new home on the space station. The station crew, namely NASA astronaut Chris Williams, will then manually pressurize the vestibule, or the area between the Dragon hatch and the station hatch. Meanwhile, umbilicals that provide power, audio, and data connections from the station to Dragon are put in place. Then it's time for leak checks and hatch opening, which is currently timelined to come a little more than 2 hours following docking.
Yeah, we are just about an hour and 15 minutes or so from that expected docking time with the International Space Station. It's a little bit of a long process. They have been coasting for quite a while now, but I'm sure the crew is very excited to make it to the International Space Station.
SpaceX Dragon, 4 nominal suits.
SpaceX copies and concurs. Good news, Jack. We see 4 healthy suits.
And with that confirmation, we heard...
Yeah, we're just as happy about that as well, and that's the end of this procedure. Thanks.
SpaceX copies. Exiting 4.011. We'll go back to approach monitoring. Next event will be the mid-course maneuver coming up. Per your forward view, just about 4.5 minutes.
Dragon.
So again, we did get 4 good suit leak checks on board for Crew Dragon Freedom. As we get closer to docking at targeted for 12:12 p.m. Pacific time today. Just before we lost views there, we did see Dragon on our screen briefly. From time to time, we do have handover between our satellites, and so we'll momentarily lose views and communications, but we will regain that here shortly.
Yeah, and we did have to reperform those suit leak checks, but we do have, even though they're following very specific procedures, we do make sure that there's time within the procedure to make sure that we have the time to do any troubleshooting that's needed. And we did have that time, and we're able to get some good suit leak checks and no changes to the schedule, which is exactly why we make sure the timeline is what it is and allow some extra time for, you know, those some small off nominal things to occur.
And the crew is in their spacesuits during what we call dynamic phases of flight. That includes the launch period, as well as when they are approaching the space station and docking to the International Space Station. And so leak checks are done during all of those phases of flight to ensure that the suit can pressurize if need be. And again, we did hear 4 good suit leak checks there. So our crew is well on their way to the International Space Station following their launch from Florida yesterday on Friday the 13th. And we do have views there of our screen. You might see some lights on Dragon. Those red and green lights, they actually indicate the direction of Dragon. So the red is the port side of Dragon, and the green is the starboard side. The white light is the top of Dragon, and the yellow is on bottom. And all of those are exposed because the nose cone is open, and as we discussed previously, that does hold all of the docking equipment and navigational sensors as Dragon continues its approach to the International Space Station. So we are standing by for the mid-course maneuver. That's the next burn that we're targeting about 3 minutes from now at 11 a.m. Pacific.